Today we're going to learn about factoring trinomials. And this idea of factoring, I think it's a struggle at first, and maybe it's not for you, but it might be for some of us. And this is one area where teachers like to think about teaching more than just the concept or the idea. We teach something called grit.
Grit is a combination of character traits such as self-control, passion, and perseverance. Many modern psychologists, educators, and parents now believe it's more important for success in life than good grades at school or an outstanding intelligence.
So how do we teach grit during lessons? How do we teach grit to you in school? And one of the ways is that we have these difficult concepts that you have to overcome, similar to riding a bike.
Do you know what grit is? Well, not really. I'm asking if you know about this kind of grit. Grit is the combination of persistence and resilience. So let's first define persistence. Imagine you're learning to ride a bike. When you get on a bike for the first time, you may find that you can only go a few feet before falling over. If you're persistent, you steady yourself, put your feet back on the pedals, and keep trying again, and again, and again, and again. You may not be fully riding the first time or even the 20th time you try, but with persistence, you'll keep trying until you're riding on 2 wheels, and maybe even no hands. Resilience is toughness. Imagine you're trying to ride your bike again. This time you crash and you scrape your knee. If you're resilient, you'll not let the experience or fear of falling down keep you from getting back up and trying again. When you have both persistence and resilience, you have what we call grit. Because true learning comes from overcoming struggles. Without grit, you would never learn from your mistakes or failures. If you approach the course with the same grit as learning to ride a bike, you'll see that nothing is impossible. And truly, the path to success isn't about being the smartest.
All right, so nothing is impossible. We are going to hopefully teach you to have some grit with this lesson. We are going to start a unit about factoring, and have grit and perseverance as you go through this. This is going to be a bit of a struggle. I want you to know that this is the first day out of 4 days which we are going to solely focus on factoring. So think about it to start. What is a factor? All right, if I were to say list all the factors of 12, we would say, okay, well, 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. What you notice about these things is that they multiply to 12, positives and some negatives in there also. 80 has a little bit more. I hope that when you think about your list for 80, you know, have 1 and 80, and you don't give up, right? You have to keep listing factors. 2 and 40, 3, no, 4, yes, and 20, and keep going. 5 and, is that 16? All right, you can use your calculator to help you out there. Yeah, 16, 6, 7, 8, and 10, okay, and 9. So we've got our factors. Those are things that multiply together. What we've been doing is distributing out, right? We've been doing our first terms is 2x squared. Our outside terms, right, would be the subtract 7x. Our inside terms is plus 10x. And then our last is subtract 35. Well, that's what we've been doing. Now we're gonna go backwards. We're gonna go from this trinomial to the factored form. And how do we get there? Okay, how do we get there? These are the steps. Pause the video and please write them down before you watch my example. All right. Pull out a GCF if possible. This step doesn't always happen, so I'm just gonna check it off. There's no GCF between 10, 9, and 2. Then I want to list the factors of the first numbers, so like 1 and 10, 2 and 5. Oh, that's it. And the factors of the last number. Okay, so over here I've got basically just 1 and 2. Now I'm going to try different combinations, and I'm going to have grit when I do this, answer is going to be some set of parentheses. Currently, everything is positive, so we're not going to worry about our positives and negatives. So the setup will have positives in there. The first term will have an x. And we need to figure out what numbers go in front of the x's and what numbers go in front of or after them. Right? I'm going to write them in a different color for you. So I'm going to pick a pair. Maybe I pick 1 and 10. The factors of the first term go in the first spots. The factors of the last term go in the last spots. And then check your work by distributing it out. So I'm going to have 10x squared plus 2x plus 10x plus 2. Well, that's not going to work because that gives me a 12x in the middle. Right? So I need to erase it and try again. Right, I'm just going to pick a new first pair here. Some of you might get it on the first try. After you do quite a few of these, you will start to see some patterns. Right, now let's distribute this out. We've got 10x squared plus 4x plus 5x plus 2. And look at that. On my second try, I got it. So you have to keep trying and keep distributing and checking your work to see where the answer is. All right, so I'm just going to go through a few more examples and really just think about having grit and working through the problems. All right, this one looks big and you're like, whoa, 32 and 60. I don't want to list factors of that. Well, there is going to be a GCF between all of those. If you check, they are actually all divisible by 4, I think it was. 65 by 4, yep, is 15. So I'm going to rewrite the problem with the GCF out front. 32 divided by 4 is 8, x squared, 11x, 88 divided by 4 is 22, and 60 divided by 4 is 15. Okay, so I made a smaller problem, and then I'm going to list the factors of the first and the last. And the first being this 8, all right, 1 and 8, 2 and 4, and the last being the 15, 1 and 15, 3 and 5. Now I'm going to go through and try different combinations, and I'm going to persevere and keep going until I get one that works. So everything is positive right now, so I don't have to worry about that. And I need to pick a pair from the first spot. So let's maybe start with 2 and 4, and then 3 and 5. All right, I'm going to check by multiplying that out. 8x squared plus 10x plus 12x. Did I accept to get it on the first try? Oops, sorry, I got it on the first try. Well, that's kind of fun. Maybe that works for you too. 22x plus 15. All right, so you want to keep going until you get this, all right? Mixing and matching with them. The final answer then is this with the GCF out front. So don't forget to put the GCF out front. Okay, so if you take out a GCF, don't forget to put that out in front of your 2 sets of parentheses there. Okay. Here's another one. I'm going to try hopefully a lot of different examples for you on this slide. Maybe you try it on your own and see if you can. Between 6, 23, and 7, there's no greatest common factor, so I'm going to move on to the next step and list my factors here. Okay. Everything is positive. And I'm going to maybe just pick, let's start with 1 and 6, and 1 and 7, and let's see what happens. When I distribute this out, I get 6x squared plus 7x plus 6x plus 7. My middle terms are going to be 13x. Well, that's not 23. I need to somehow get bigger. So maybe I'm going to, this time, keep the 1 and 6 and just flip the 7 and 1. On your paper, I recommend that you just cross it out. I don't really have enough space on here to do that, and rewrite it. That way you can remember what you've done or not. Okay. So if I distribute this out, I get 6x squared plus 6 times 7 is 42. Plus 1x 42. That's way too big. You kind of just stop there, right? It's not going to be 23, so that's not the right one, right? Maybe you list it off to the side and cross out the things. Look, I already forgot what I did. I did a 1x plus 1, and then I had a 6x plus 7. That one didn't work, so let me cross that out. Okay, what else did I try? I tried 1x plus 7 and a 6x plus 1. Okay, and that one didn't work. Okay, now I know which ones I've tried, and I can keep going. All right. Maybe I'll start with a 2 and a 3 this time. 2 and 3 and 7 and a 1. Okay, let's see if this will work. 6x squared plus 2x plus 21x plus 7. Oh, this looks good. 6x squared plus 23x plus 7. All right, that one works. So this is our answer. Keeping track of your wrong answers helps you know which ones you've done or not. So keep track of your wrong. Okay, keep track of your wrongs. That way you know which ones you've tried or not. So pause the video and see if you can do this. On a scale of like 1 to 4, right, you can factor out the GCF. That was previous lessons. We're going to see if you can level up to factor positive. We're not even going to get past this point yet today. We're not going to deal with anything negative, just positives. So see if you know how to do this. Pause the video. Hopefully you caught that there is a greatest common factor, and we want to make a smaller problem for ourselves. Anytime you can, even if it's a tiny greatest common factor, you do want to pull that out and hopefully give yourself an easier time or a smaller list of numbers to factor with. So I'm going to start with 1 and 2, 15, 3 and 5. See, I don't have a whole lot of combinations now that I need to try. In the first spot, 1 and 2. All right, now I'm going to move around and work with the last spots. Let's try maybe 3 and 5. Yeah, put the 5 here and the 3 here. And see, always check your work, see if it's the correct one. 2x squared plus, I think I'm running out of time. Let's go quick. 3x plus 15. That checks out. And so then our final answer is with the greatest common factor out front. It's this, oh no, I just highlighted 2 out front, this greatest common factor out front, right here. Okay, so don't forget about the greatest common factor. Final answer, here. Here you go, happy solving.